of shame. You gotta be working to get the woman and the wine. Keep the beat and get your hands in the air. Shuffle it quick cause it's an African affair. Took over the park and our home at St. George's. We're bringing the silverware back on the border. That's the way of the warrior. That's the way of the warrior. That's the way of the warrior. That's the everyday warrior. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Firing on All Cylinders Tuesday.
Always good to see you.
It's our Tuesday night show that we're doing on a Saturday, I know, and you have to get out of the ruggers. The ruggers is there. Your son is playing.
Thankfully, I got out of it because I believe it's not so great.
Yeah, oh, really?
It didn't end up being so great. But
it's Lions versus Sharks, eh?
Yeah. The last I heard was 24-7 down, but
I
feel for the Lati and I feel for his teammates, but you know what? It's sport.
You know, next time they're going to murder them. That's the thing. They know the story now.
Murder them properly.
So Fires' son is playing for the Lions.
It's actually Joffers' team, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really? Okay. Joffers,
it's our guest team.
I've got our guest on tonight, Graeme Joffe. We're gonna talk about this all sorts. He's had a checkered career. There's all sorts of stuff going down. I mean, he was chased out of the country. I met him at the Tuna Classic doing
quite correct
filming and stuff.
I must tell you, he's one of the most interesting and likable guys I've ever met. You know, he's always the same. He's always easy to talk to, and he's always a wealth of information.
Yeah,
which makes him a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that we could find Joffers there somewhere in America.
Yes, I know. I believe so. That's great, and at least we brought him all the way in via the interweb, all the way into Klebecha.
Eventually. And you know what's important as well? He's got strong Eastern Cape connection.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
He went to Rhodes, Joburg boy.
There's it. Well, we're gonna check him out today. It's Graeme Joffe tonight on live. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you give us some comments. Let us know you're out there. Let us know what you're having to drink. We've got a little bit of our usual fiction leads, of course, and a bit of a beer as well. A castle too, just adding the cricket vibes. And we're going to talk for Ray Israel and the guys that's
there. What have you got in there?
This is a fiction lead. It's a little bit of Casey's.
You've got a punter in there.
Casey's punters.
There you go.
We can do it as well. We've had a couple of requests for a sponsorship for gin as well. So Casey, better. We're going to move
Sharpen up
soon.
Sharpen up, Casey.
Sharpen up, Casey.
He's
and
probably cycling now.
Our sponsors, Spa, as you can see here as well, been fantastic over the last it's almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Stapes and the guys, thank you so much. Always supporting local, supporting our Gino spot going forward, and getting positive vibes into PE. You know what I thought? I thought of playing the other day. And if people were talking about load shedding and stuff, and we're always talking about companies. I'm going to move these mics a bit closer here. You know, the companies all over the country circling with load shedding. Imagine if we could get, but with the private sector, whatever it needs with the chamber, to get PE off the grid and with a constant supply of electricity and PE being the only place. Imagine if we could do that. Yeah. How many companies would come to the Eastern Cape to PE and invest?
Yeah, but then how do they get the product back from PE to wherever they're going to? I mean, the rail system's stuffed.
Well, no, we'll make a plan. We're going to make a plan. It doesn't matter, as long as we can get electricity here. That's the golden goose.
And I'm sure our guest is, being a South African, although living in America, is well versed in what goes on here.
Yeah.
You know, the mask was compulsory.
Is it?
It's almost now like a headlamp is more compulsory.
Yes, it is.
Jeez, I'm tired of walking into furniture in the dark.
But Fires, it's time. We need to get our guest
Cheers,
on.
my man.
We're going to welcome a guest on, and poof, he's going to arrive all the way from America. So let's welcome Graeme.
Ooh, welcome to the show. Now it's your turn to shine. We're gonna have a lekker chat tonight. Another good time.
Another good time. There
Joffers!
How's it, Joffers? How are you doing, man?
Joffers, my boy.
You know what's so great, guys? I've been laughing for the last 2-3 minutes. If people say to me, what do you miss about South Africa? And it's the sense of humor, and especially the Eastern Cape. You guys are killing me. First of all, 10 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock in the morning here, and you're busy drinking. I mean, I've just woken up. You're making me jealous for that. And the promo.
Man.
Well, the intro promo, those legends that you've had on the show already, that's incredible. But Sid Meier, what was his resume?
ITT, there we go. He's the one that's going to get all the stock out there to wherever we need to get it to. We're going to get lots of business.
Well spotted. Well spotted.
Indeed.
Sydney Bedford Mayor.
Oh, quickest bowler
Remember
in
the
the world,
Bedford?
according to Sid Meier.
But listen, I've drunk with you at 10 o'clock in the morning. I remember one day at the Tuna Classic. If you remember clearly, he was the entertainer.
Oh, yeah.
You were the Supersport producer.
Oh, God.
And we were called off and we sat behind a tent there and we ate a sailfish. We didn't eat the whole thing, but we ate remnants of it.
Beautiful, that sail. I remember.
But you know what's so crazy is I had no interest in fishing, but yet I think, Fires, you got me into that production, and it's a week of my life I'll never get back. The tuna. I was nauseous for a week.
I know. Were you out on the boats as well, I suppose?
The guys took me out on the boats. I mean, everyone was just so good out there, but I must be honest with you, it wasn't my favorite sporting event. Only because I don't know how to catch a fish. I don't know how to put a hook on a line. I don't know about bait. I know nothing.
You certainly knew how to eat them.
Absolutely.
I still do.
But I must say, Joffers, you're looking very well there. America being good to you.
It is, Fires. You know what? It's been an incredible journey. And I'm extremely happy. It feels like I've got my life back. I'm the happy-go-lucky Joffers again, which is so important.
You're looking good.
No, I appreciate it. And yeah, a diet of chicken wings and vodka is obviously working for me.
I saw that on your Facebook page. A
Love
whole lot of bottles, and you spoke about the chicken wings. Now, Joffers, just before we go into the background, where exactly are you in America at the moment?
So I'm based in Hilton Head Island, which is in South Carolina. Beautiful, just a happy island. Very small island.
Jeez.
I think it's been voted in the USA probably the most best island destination for so many different years, and it's a special place. Very small. Everything's 5 to 10 minutes away. Just good people, and most people. It feels like you're on vacation, even though I'm working pretty hard. It's an island feel, which is so important. You're right by the ocean. Obviously, we have the big RBC Heritage PGA Tour event here in April, a week after the Masters. Just a good place, and I'm in a good space.
You know, Joffers, I'm not sure about you, but and I'm not sure if you guys follow this, but what has captivated, well, certainly our household, and I'm sure many other South Africans, is this Murdoch murder trial, right there where you are.
Boy, it's close. I haven't really been following it, but what a mess. It just
Unbelievable.
Unfortunately, I mean, you know, you find it, you see these kind of stories kind of pop up wherever you are. It's interesting that you even picked up on that, because you probably wouldn't see it too much in the international media, but it's a huge story down here. They've got the trials on live at the moment. Obviously, today being a Saturday, there's probably no court proceedings, but it's a big story. A lot of people talking about it on the island.
Well, I'll tell you what I was thinking about last night after watching, I think, day 18 or 19. We watch it every night. And we're going to touch on this later in the show. But I'll tell you what, I think that guy could fit into this government quite comfortably.
What government's that you're talking about? Oh boy, you're going to get me started here. No, it's
No, we're going to come back to that. I'm not used to wearing headphones, Joffers.
Yeah, no.
They're falling off, but be that as it may.
You look a bit like Charles Fortune. You look fantastic.
Charles.
Well, he likes Charles Fortune.
I love Charles Fortune. You were so good. The international stuff, especially the American stuff, always comes back here as well. So we do keep in touch, but I mean, we need to know your history as well, your story too, Joffers. So and at the moment, at this point in your you say you're working hard. What are you working hard on?
So my whole career is kind of, from being a sports journalist all those years, it's kind of changed a little bit now. I'm actually teaching tennis and pickleball at a country club. And
Pickleball, what the hell is that?
I tell you, guys have got to get onto pickleball. Fastest growing sport in the USA for the second year. It's like big man ping pong. It is so much. And why it's so...
It's like what? Sorry, Joffers?
What? Pickleball.
It's like what though? Ping pong.
It's like big man's ping pong. It's played on like a mini tennis court with a wiffle ball and paddles. So very not dissimilar to what's going on in South Africa now with paddle. You got paddle going on in South Africa.
Stapes is doing that whole thing,
Yeah, okay, that's right. And then, but pickleball is just incredible. It's a small court, a wiffle ball and paddles. And the learning curve is so quick. So people are just gravitating towards it. There are just millions of people playing. And a lot of the celebrities, the sporting celebrities in the USA are building pickleball courts at their homes. Because it's the craze. It's unbelievable how fast it's growing, and it is so social, so fun. The points are quick, and you're on a small court, so you're in small confines, and it is so much fun. And I know there are a few people that are playing it in South Africa, but when it does take off, you guys, I mean, you'll love it. Even Fires will be able to play.
Yeah,
Joffers. What do you have to hit the thing?
You got to hit it. That might be a little tough for you. You got to be able to
you can only hit what you can see.
Exactly. But,
Fires is used to hitting it out of the court anyway.
No.
But,
Joffers knows. Joffers knows. We were close.
Exactly. But good country club life. Enjoying a bit of a change of scenery, but I'm almost sure I'll get back into journalism at some point in my career. I mean, my life, because it's in my blood. It was my livelihood for 30 years, and I miss it. I miss the journalism.
Well, what actually took you out of journalism, Joffers? Was it all the cuck that took place here?
Yeah, Fires, exactly. You know, when I got chased out of South Africa in 2015 after becoming an investigative sports journalist, it really turned my life upside down and obviously left a bitter taste in my mouth. You know, being chased out of your home country for telling the truth. I couldn't understand that. And so when I finally came to the island, I came down here and did a tennis instructor's course. And I said, right, pick me, just to be able to come to a place that can just give me my life back. I don't like big cities anymore. Johannesburg killed me. At the end of my time in Johannesburg, it was just no fun. Really wasn't. And then the pickleballs come with it in the last 3 to 4 years. And it's just given me a new lease on life, something different. There's a lot of satisfaction involved, teaching youngsters, teaching adults, teaching grandparents. But again, it's not my passion. It's not my real passion, but I'm enjoying it. I really am enjoying it.
Yeah. I actually mean to ask you, I think the last time we really had a good conversation, we were on the phone together probably about 2015. And you told me that you had moved to Grahamstown. So you've just touched on the fact that Joburg did you, or you got sick and tired of Joburg.
Correct.
Yeah. I could never quite work out why you moved to Grahamstown.
So Fires, what happened in end of 2014, life in Joburg, I was getting followed. I started getting some death threats that hacked into my that hacked into my phone, hacked into my emails. It was just uncomfortable wherever I didn't want to go out. And suddenly the guy I always wanted to go out. And suddenly my whole life had changed completely. I became a bit of a recluse. I didn't want to go out because I knew I was being followed. I was looking over my shoulder wherever I went. And it wasn't, so I thought to myself, you know what, let me get out of this heat and let me move back, where else do I know but Grahamstown, having been at Rhodes, which were probably the three of the best years of my life. And moving back to Grahamstown I knew people, obviously, Warren and Wendy Rippon just were a huge help to me, just giving me a place to stay and get started again. And I just wanted to get out of the fire. And it didn't last too long because I was only there for about 4 months until I got that potential threat to my safety via a private investigator. But it's, you know what? No regrets. I would do it all over again, what I did. As a journalist, you got your ethics and integrity. I couldn't sit on all this information. And why should all these corrupt sporting officials get away with it? But in fact, they have got away with it because nothing really changes. They just get greedier and greedier. They take more and more. And the athletes at the end of the day are the ones that are suffering.
Joffers, I've actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to touch on that in more detail a bit later. But if you don't mind, as Gino alluded to earlier, give us a little bit of your background growing up.
Yeah.
You're obviously a South African, although you've got an American connection.
Just before we get into your background, though, we've got a couple of oaks popping online saying, "How's it here?" And we've got I see Craig Evans says, "Fires beer number one." It's only number one, Craig. It's just getting going here.
It's Saturday, Craigie. Remember, it's Saturday.
Garth Webster, I don't know if you remember Garth Webster.
Of course I do.
Yes,
of course I do.
good to see
Webs.
him as well. Yes, now Garth has put up something about the Chinese balloon the other day on he puts up these things in Main Road Warmer as we go up, and Garth that one was classic as well. He says,
tell
good
me,
to see.
Is something good still open? I miss those burgers.
Yes, it does.
It is. No, it's
John Davies.
Yeah, John Davies.
John Davies owns it.
We need to get him on the show as well.
Yes, we got. Oh, no, he's too scared to come on the show, but we got to get him. We got to get him on.
Yeah, but when last we had something good?
Oh, but when Rhodes used to play UP in cricket and we used to lose with him one day of a 2-day match, would spend the next half a day at something good.
No, Joffers, it got rejuvenated because I think in that time it closed down. Right. And then got rejuvenated by a guy called John Davies, a fantastic guy who owns quite a few places.
Yeah, Bridgeford Brewery now as well. And so we've got a rejuvenated something good going on there.
Excellent.
And more importantly, I'm looking at the messages on the side of the screen here. I've got a message on my phone and before we carry on here, it comes from a very good mate of yours called Andre Snyman.
Oh, brother. Boy,
he said, I must tell you, he misses you dearly and Charlie Cribb is still intact.
Too good.
But Joffers, I don't think he's got his facts right because I think Huck was the guy who went into Charlie Cribb. You bowled from the other end. But
Jeez,
what I do remember...
Boy, Huckle stole my cricket boots at one SAU. That's all I know. Damn it. My own teammate stole my cricket boots.
Oh, no.
Do you remember that morning, Joffers? It was a Saturday-Sunday game. You guys bowled first, or we batted first. And Snare's got 157. And I think he had got the 157 before lunch. And you bowled from the other side. Huck was bowling from the side that would have gone to Charlie Cribb.
Oh, right.
And Snare's got this 157 in probably 100 minutes, if that.
No, he
But what I do remember, on the Saturday night, we had a big social at the Union Cricket Club. And when you and Huck left, Snare shouted out, Big Burley, we called him Burley. Yeah. Shouted out, Huck, Joffers, see you tomorrow. But I think you got off quite lightly there because you bowled from the other end.
Boy, I got hurt. I got hit properly. Don't you worry about that.
But we'll also come back to the Kumar Award. I've been hunting the heralds for it.
That was my only bitter sporting moment in Eastern Cape history.
What is that? What is the Kumar Award? Tell us the story, Joffers.
This is now my best bowling performance ever. We're playing Rhodes against Warmer. And we got our backs to the wall for most of the game, but finally we set them a target. I think they needed like 98 to win or something. And we bowled them out for 72. And Joffers took 6 for 48. I mean, I couldn't have bowled better out of my shoes. I ran through the top order, and then I'm looking in the EP Herald on Monday, going to be no doubt that Joffers has won the Kumar Bowler of the Week award. No, what happened? They give it to Janse van der Reis because he's at UPE. I said, that's just not right. I said, Rhodes, you're like second-class citizens at Rhodes. Damn it. I never bowled better in my life. I couldn't get an award.
Oh, no. Lower Albany didn't feature.
But Joffers, before we get on to the Rhodes, I think you were there for 3 years, were you not?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit about your background.
Growing up in Johannesburg. Where were you born? Where did you come from?
So Fazia, born in Johannesburg. As a kid growing up, just loved sport. Everything. I just wanted to play sport. Went to Fairways Primary, and very luckily at Fairways Primary, Jimmy Cook was our soccer and cricket coach. So you really couldn't have asked for a better start as a kid because he was an idol for us. You know, we used to run up to the Wanderers, go watch him play cricket, and he played soccer for Wits University. So really got the best start possible as a kid growing up. Did high school at Highlands Boys in Joburg. Then went to Switzerland as an AFS exchange student at the end of 86, beginning of 87. and then came down to Grahamstown and studied at Rhodes University from 89 to 91. Played cricket, soccer, and squash for Rhodes. When I say the 3 best years, they were just so special. Meeting all these characters that you guys are talking about, playing sport in the Eastern Cape is unique, and the people in the Eastern Cape are just simply the best.
So you were 88 matric?
86 matric, and then started at Rhodes 89 to 91. Studied journalism, learned to drink, obviously at Rhodes University.
He practiced between 86 and 89 then.
Exactly. And then went over to the States at the end of 90. There was a choice. Remember, in those days, you could either study or you'd have to go to the military. And I could assure you, I was going to add no value to the South African military. So I decided. I went overseas to the USA. My sister was in Chicago, and I sent out about 100 resumes. And I was in the right place at the right time, because CNN at the end of 1991, CNN had started CNN International. And when I got there in the beginning of 92, they needed sports guys that knew about cricket, soccer, rugby. You know, the Americans, if you told the American you could play a cricket game for 5 days and no result, they go, that's not possible. What is that? So, I got a job as a CNN International sports anchor at CNN. 7 incredible years. Set me up for life from 92 to 99. And then came back to South Africa in 2000. And did everything that I could possibly want to do. Worked in radio for 94.7 with the late Jeremy Mansfield, which just leaves a really sore spot.
I want to touch. We're going to touch on that.
Yeah, that'll be great to chat about. What a guy. And then I also worked for Supersport. I started my own TV production company called Butterbean Productions. That's how I got to do the Tuna Classic. And and it was only, and then I started that social responsibility project, putting up big screen TVs in the townships. That was just one of the best things I've ever done. Traveled all over Africa doing a documentary series on African sporting heroes. And then it was only in 2012 that by default, that I got involved in investigative sports journalism, and that obviously turned my life upside down.
Sure. How do you actually get involved in that, Joffers? Did you get yourself involved, or were you drawn into it?
Totally drawn in, Fires, and you guys will appreciate it because you'll do you remember in 2012 there was that big hoo-ha in the Super Rugby between the EP Kings and the Lions, and remember the Lions were going to be relegated and the EP Kings were going to be promoted. Luke Watson was the big story on the front page of everywhere, and I found that there was some unethical journalism. There were a lot of hidden agendas of journalists pushing the agenda of the EP Kings at the expense of the Lions. And being a Lions fan, I thought, boy, this is just very odd that these guys are pushing this agenda. And obviously then I found out who was pushing the agenda was none other than Mark Keohane. And but what he didn't disclose is that he was an unaccredited agent for Luke Watson.
Correct.
So that's when I started digging, and then I found out that Keohane was the spokesperson for the Olympic Committee of South Africa, SASCOG. Then I started finding all these shady deals. So we got into a bit of a Twitter war, and they tried to blackmail me. Basically.
But Joffers, sorry, I don't mean to be rude. So let's just go back a step here. Mark Keohane was, am I right in saying, and you were going very fast there, like you used to bowl.
Sorry.
was Keohane Luke Watson's agent?
Correct. Unaccredited, so he wasn't even an accredited agent, but I got emails from that going between Keohane and Watson, and yes, Keohane was Luke Watson's agent. And obviously, if the EP Kings got into Super Rugby, then Mark Keohane stood to make more from commissions because Luke Watson would have got more money. And remember, they put him on the front page of the SA Rugby magazine, which their company owns, and I remember it being "The King is Back." The whole Luke Watson thing. It was shady. It was unethical. You can't report. It was poor journalism. And they kept pushing harder for the Kings, saying the Lions have had their turn. But what had happened is SA Rugby had screwed up monumentally. They had no promotion relegation system, and they let these two unions fight it out. And it almost destroyed the Lions franchise. And it just wasn't fair regardless. But it led me down a path with Keohane initially, and then the South African Olympic Committee, who then became one of my biggest targets. And because there's no culture of investigative sports journalism in South Africa, people jumped on Twitter and they go, wow, this is interesting. And then I started it snowballed from there, because I started getting information from athletes, coaches, administrators. Any dirt basically was coming to me.
Yeah. And Joffers, now tell me a story. So that's how the whole thing began.
Correct.
But what made you take your focus off the rugby issue and move on to the Olympic Committee?
The addiction of sports journalism, one of the best addictions that I've ever had. I couldn't believe the information that I was getting. And Fires, I'm talking about getting 5, 6, 7 emails every day. Joffers, I've got this. Joffers, I've got this. How could I sit on that information? And it was a rush. And I'm digging and I'm digging, but when you're digging up dirt, you're consumed by negativity. And that's one thing people didn't understand about me on Twitter. There was always some people say, Joffers, you're so unpatriotic. Haven't you got anything positive to say? When you become a whistleblower, it is all negative. That's what you're digging up, but you're trying to make a positive change with all the negative information. The fact that I haven't been able to bring about change, it's hard to take on a mafia, a corrupt sporting mafia. But it was an addiction. And, from then, the Olympic Committee then sued me for defamation in my personal capacity for 21 million. Correct.
I remember that, Joffers. I remember that well.
Just to bully me and silence me and cripple me financially. And
didn't that just come out of your ticky pocket?
Yeah, exactly. I just I went to Sid Meier and Rip, and I said, boys, write me out a check for 21 million.
But Joffers,
just a little message here from Stapes here. I see he wants to know if you're up for a game of squash and a beer.
Oh, Stapes! I don't know if I'm not on the same court as Stapes. He used to beat me in those days. I can't play him.
No.
Walk over, Stapes. Walk over.
And Joffers, just to go back to, while you were exposing all this stuff, were you actually employed by somebody in South Africa, or were you a freelancer?
I was a freelance journalist, but I was writing for News 24 and writing for the Citizen newspaper. And as soon as I got sued in my personal capacity, they said, bye-bye, Graeme. See ya. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously they didn't want to get involved, and there were some other little hidden agendas and some other connections. And that's when I went out on my own and started my own digital publication and started to really name and shame these officials every day. And that led me obviously onto the national lottery. And that's where the majority of the problems all start. That is so corrupt. It's crazy.
Yeah. And Joffers, just as a matter of interest now, the people giving you this information, were they putting their names to it, or were they just nom de plumes, basically, or anonymous?
A bit of both, because, as an athlete or a family, if you bring out your name, you're going to be marginalized by the system. If you're critical of South African soccer or cricket and you're a kid trying to play in the system, you've got no chance. So a lot of them were anonymous, but I had to double check everything. So it wasn't just, this is a great story, I'm going with it. You try and find out information. You find the role players. A lot of the information is on the internet. People don't, everything's pretty much out there. So it was a case of just finding it. But I had to, my fight was for the athletes, because you know how they silenced by draconian codes of conduct. So South African sport is, with all the talent, finance, and facilities, we should be getting 40 medals at the Olympic Games. We get 5 or 6, and they come back and they celebrate like we've won the World Cup. The officials are just, that's the biggest problem in South African sport, is that the majority of sporting officials and administrators have prioritized self-enrichment ahead of the athletes, and it's all about them. And again, I know it's a generalization, but I would say the majority, there's some unbelievably good sports administrators in South Africa, but the majority, it's all about them and how much they can feed themselves. And
Joffers, we're going to come back to this, because I'm really intrigued by this, and you and I have had a discussion about this years ago, albeit years ago. Let's move on to Oscar Pistorius. Weren't you sending out warning signals about him as well?
So, Mike, not warning signals per se. I mean, in hindsight, yes, it's easy to say I sent out warning signals, but I didn't. But I saw a noticeable change. I knew him as a kid growing up, and I was really impressed by him. I go, this kid is unbelievable. What an inspiration. And then as time went on, I just saw a noticeable change, that fame and fortune had changed him. And the biggest problem about there were so many incidents that happened with Oscar Pistorius, but a lot of the sports journalists were buddy with him. So they didn't report, when you talk about the boating accident where he nearly killed himself and could have killed other people when he hit the pier when he was drunk, letting off a gun in Tashes. No one really knew about that. There must have been people, journalists who knew about it, but didn't report on it. Then when he stormed out of a BBC interview, and he did there were a lot of warning signs and red flags. And from my perspective, I just knew about the social aspect of where he was hanging out and what he was doing, but no one could have obviously prepared for what was going to happen, obviously the tragedy that was going to happen. But at the end of the day, and it reminded me so much of, in the USA, the O.J. Simpson case.
Very much so.
Yeah,
correct.
And again, I just think there were a lot of red flags, and Oscar Pistorius became such a big commodity. There were so many people around him that were making money off Oscar that they didn't worry about where was he going as a human being, and they obviously ignored the big red flags.
Yeah, and quite a great point. I mean, I can remember reading articles about that where you were actually saying, guys, there's a potential issue here. And sadly, and very sadly, look at the result of it, or the end result.
Destroyed a family. Your heart, and you probably, I've never met them, but the Steenkamp family, your heart's still got to pour out for them. It's just not their lives. Their lives will never be the same.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it's actually just come up just recently again in the paper. I see that it was
obviously
it's anniversary every 14th of December, every 14th of February. It's the anniversary. Yeah. So it's a reminder every year to them, it must be the most terrible thing. I'll tell you what.
It's horrific. And I mean, Joffers, as you correctly say, it's destroyed the mother and the father. And your heart does go out to them. And I can remember you issuing those warnings, or reading between the lines. You were saying, guys, there's a problem looming here.
Yeah. Fires, my biggest thing is, at the time, the London Olympics, at the time, Fikile Mbalula was the sports minister. And don't get me started on him, because that'll take 3 hours.
I'll make a comment about him, Joffers. I'll help you.
One of the absolute worst, most corrupt officials. South African sport became so corrupt under his watch. Every department he's been in has become corrupt underneath him. But anyway, I'll never forget the question that was posed when Oscar Pistorius got selected for the Olympic team to go to London as an able-bodied athlete to run. Basically, he never met the selection criteria. He didn't qualify by time. And the question was posed to Fikile Mbalula, why was Oscar Pistorius selected for the team? And he said, don't ask me about that. It's a political decision. And that explains the money that probably changed hands, because Oscar, they'd already built like a statue in London before he'd even been selected. But it was an incredible story that obviously backfired, no pun intended, on the South African sporting community. But again, there are just so many decisions that get made in South African sport, and from the top down, from your sports ministry to your Department of Sports and Arts and Culture to your Olympic Committee to your sporting federations, there's no watchdog in South African sports.
Correct.
It's a free fall.
No ombudsman.
Correct.
Yes. Now, just as a matter of interest, do you think it'll ever change, or how do you change it?
Fires, I wish. I keep saying, guys, I wish it. I don't know. It's like a deeply rooted cancer. How do you change it? Unless there's a groundswell. Every sector of South Africa, and obviously my heart, I'm a South African. I watch what's going on. I follow Twitter. I see all the corruption that's ongoing. There's just seems like there's zero accountability. And when there's zero accountability, how do you change things? I would love to say I think things can change, but to be honest with you, when I read the stories, and it's just ongoing, and the corrupt get greedier and greedier, and when you don't get caught, then you continue, and 20 million's not enough, so I'm going to take 30 million, and the athletes are paying so many of South Africa's athletes are having to pay their own way to represent their own country, and the majority of families can't afford it. So right now, for a lot of South African sporting teams, apart from your major sporting codes, a lot of the South African athletes are selected on financial, not on merit.
And Joffers, just judging by the background there, I see you've got a fan in your house and there's a bit of space there. So if United Airlines arrived there on Tuesday. You got room for Gary, Gino, and I. And our family.
3 of you on the pull-out sofa in the lounge will be a beautiful sight.
No, I mean, in the end, we're going to have to live with this stuff here and sort it out somehow over the next while. And you're right. There is a rot. There's always going to be that. It's human nature, that rot. So we need guys like you and. Just to bring it out, just to and in your case, it's turned your life upside down, like you said, to move away. I mean, your wife and family. Have you got wife and kids?
No, geez, Fires will tell you, boy, not through lack of effort that I'm still single.
He was a womanizer. Big womanizer.
He was.
This is not an oil painting, boy. I promise. I'd get
Joffers,
the
it's
odd
not
kiss now and again.
It's not about the looks, eh? It's not about the looks.
Ask Dot. It's not about
Skin
the looks.
deep.
But I joke
She
around
tells me
with
that every day.
But I joke around with the guys. I say, aren't you married? I said, well, I'm not married, but I said, I can't be happy forever. I'll have to get married at some point.
I see a couple more comments here coming through. Super program. Watch this and the Bulls versus Stormers. He's watching Rob Blake. They watch at the same time. You check. It's the youngsters of today, Rob Blake and the like.
Yeah.
Can like multitask like that.
Carl
Palmerston. As well, yes.
What's up, Carly? There's a good boy there. Yes.
Great guy.
Tell us about
Great
the A team in PE. What's the A team?
The A team in PE. A team. It can
Must
only
have
be.
been a Rhodes woman.
I'm trying to think. The A team in PE. I'm trying to remember what that was. I just know we got beat by UPE handily most times. That's all I know.
Oh my word! And so tell us about your also your time with is it 702 as well?
Highveld.
Yeah,
Highveld.
94.
Is it Highveld?
I will come back to that. I just wanted to share probably my
Yes.
best cricket story ever. Mark Rushmere. Remember against the English
Yes.
Rebels?
He sat in this chair the other night.
Rushes. What a great guy. But he got, I think
Lovely
it was
guy.
back-to-back hundreds in the same game against the
Quite
English
correct.
Rebels. And the
Maritzburg.
following week, he was playing for EP Defence against Rhodes. And he came to Rhodes. He played on that dead track at the Prospect Field. Joffers in about the fifth
Joffers.
over. And Gino, you probably didn't see me bowl, but Fires can tell you I can only move it one way because that's how I look.
Okay.
I almost look like Paul Adams when I'm bowling. I can't see when I'm bowling.
A googly.
And exactly. And I don't think Rushmere had seen this action before. And he shouldered arms to one of my third or fourth delivery. And I like to say I clipped the leg side bail when he shouldered arms. So there it was. And one of the farming members arrived at the club to see Rushmere, obviously, and looked in the scorebook and saw Rushmere bowled Joffe for 5. And he shouted out in the middle of the over. He said, "Joffers, how can you bowl to the bugger when he's not looking?"
That sounds so Lower Albany as well.
Correct. The bagger.
Joffers, the bugger.
Good times. Good
How
times.
can you bowl to him when he's not looking now? It's time to go to the Kenton Hotel to get a drink.
Joffers, I must say, and when I cast my mind back to that side you played in at Rhodes, there were some really lovely guys in that team, and it was always a pleasure to come and play against you, whether in Grahamstown or here.
We had so much fun. I mean, I used to make fun of the guys because our captains first we had Sarge Long. Grant Long was our first captain when I was there. Then it was Spaker Long. Well, Sean Long was our next captain. Yes, those are two different
No
brothers.
problem with the ladies here, man.
None whatsoever. I think that's where you got the name from.
I think Spaker was in dreamland playing at Rhodes University.
Isn't that where you got the name from, Spaker?
Don't go there. And then the third
No,
guy was
no,
Pete,
no.
one of my really good friends as well, Pete Emsley. And
Jeez, what a great
but
guy.
I mean, we're talking about Percy McLean, Steve Palfreman, Paul Barrow, Mike Hemsley. We had such great guys. Adam Huckle, all these kind of guys. But I used to complain a lot. Percy McLean. Oh, geez.
I saw Percy the other night.
Oh,
I saw Percy the other night. What
I'll
a
come
character.
back to my favorite story about Percy. But anyway, but I used to joke around with the guys because I go, guys, why are you even picking me for the Rhodes team? I bowl 4 overs and then we bowl our 9 spinners. I mean, we had like 9 spinners. Percy McLean, best story. He's the Currie Cup final. When did Kenny? It was Eastern Province against Transvaal. I think Kenny
88-89.
got a big number that day. But
Philip
anyway,
and Kenny.
Correct, but EP needed a 12th man that wasn't playing club cricket that weekend. So how they came to Rhodes, I don't know. Percy McLean got to be 12th man for EP that day. And we used to hear the stories every day, how great he is and and he's just fielding like a demon. Only for the one day for us all to tune in one day on the television. And all we heard was, I think it was the late Kurtie Greveer. What a good guy that was. And Kurtie was saying, oh, and dis weer swak veldwerk dear McLean. Well done,
Do you know
Percy.
Joffers? do you know Joffers? I spoke to Percy about you coming on the show about a week ago. And I was quite tempted to bring him here, let him stand in the wings here and just put his head in the screen and say, hello, Joffers, how are you? And then disappear.
Percy's just what a character. You got to love
Lovely
the guy.
guy.
And Percy was the best at everything, according to Percy as well. And then one day I'm driving past his mom, and Gwen, what a lady that is. And she used to work at the sanatorium, the St. Andrews Sanatorium. And there were 2 tennis courts there. And Percy used to love going to play tennis there. And you drive past and you hear this guy grunting. I'm going, who is that guy? And it's Percy McLean hitting one-handed backhands and grunting. I go, boy, Monica Sellers.
Thought it might have been Spaker.
Ooh, hello.
There we go. Carl Webster says, Joffers, we know your thoughts on the state of South African politics. What's your take on the USA?
Great question, Garth.
No, it is. Luckily I can't vote. I don't get involved in politics. But it's a good question because there's corruption and there's bad politics wherever you go around the world. South Africa is not immune. It's not an orphan when it comes to corruption. I just hate the mix of politics and sport, but it happens worldwide, and you can't stop these politicians. I'm just not a fan of politicians regardless. The old saying about how you know when a politician's lying is when he moves his mouth.
Right. Rory Norton's, I see Rory Norton coming on saying those specs of yours are something else. You must have flipping good eyesight to see through those.
Is anybody there? My eyes, unfortunately, my eyes are still good, but I can't see print and I can't see little things. So I've got about 15 of these all around my apartment. To get them at the $1 store. $1 store.
They're the dollar store.
Are there no prescription glasses?
Oh, can't be bothered with that, Fires. No.
No, you lose them all the time.
I just see Carl saying that the A team was us, by the way. It's Carl's that's the A team, the PA
and Joffers, their Scorps. Hello, Scorps.
Well.
As you said, Joffers a great guy. Sorry, Gino.
And Rob Blake says the Stormers have scored as well, eh? So we got a score coming in too.
Robbie, my boy. I know Rob Blake. What a wonderful guy.
There we go. Played cricket with Fires at VP.
Yeah, he's
Rob
a wonderful
Blake.
guy.
He said VP as well.
Rob,
remember those
Rob,
days,
it's the last time the Stormers are going to score. Believe me. Tonight. Are you still a Lions man, Joffers?
I am. You know what? You know what's unfortunate, Fires, that I have lost quite a lot of my patriotism, only because
I thought you were going to say your pace. Sorry.
I've still got pace. But
you've lost your patriotism.
Yeah, when you know how much dirt there is behind the walls, and every time what used to happen is when I was investigating a story and I would expose the corruption, what would happen, a good result would paper over the cracks. So whenever South African rugby or the Springboks won or Bafana won, I don't know when last that was, when Bafana lost one.
Yeah,
but
1998. 98.
Exactly. But it papered over the cracks, and I just yes, I want the athletes to win, but the administrators
Sure.
love to take all the credit. As soon as
Yeah.
SA Rugby, the Boks are doing well, the administrators pat themselves on the back. Great job, great job.
Yeah.
But I knew too much, and I still receive emails every week. This whole thing now with South African hockey, this recent absolute,
Yeah.
I mean, the decision is shambolic. It's a disgrace about not allowing them to play in the World League after they qualified. So I want to know who's paying off South African hockey to make that decision. Ireland have now got into the World League. Did the Irish Hockey Association pay the South African Association millions of rands? It needs to be investigated. Why else would you make the most ridiculous decision and stunt the growth of what I believe is an incredible men's hockey team in South Africa?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Correct.
So it was very sad to hear that,
Yeah.
And do you think that to change this sort of thing, it's going to require, like you said, a groundswell? Like the more people that know about this stuff, the more people that can make a change.
Gino, yes and no. I mean, there's a groundswell against government in South Africa, but it hasn't changed anything. It's almost like you need to clean house completely. But how do you do that? This mafia are so tight. They all got dirt on each other. They formed this nucleus, and it's a big one. And how do you get them out of power? You'd need new government. You'd need a new sports minister. You'd need new everything, because it really is from the top to the bottom. And when number one can steal as much as he wants, then 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 believe they can take whatever they want as well. And then they got all their buddies. They got all the buddies doing the auditing of the different federations. And SASCOG is still corrupt. I mean, it's sad for the athletes, and that's why you've got so many South African kids that have either given up the sport or they've moved to greener pastures because they know that they just don't have a future. Which is just, it's a sad, because talent-wise, South Africa, the talent pool is incredible.
Yeah, and you're still obviously following it very closely, although you're not playing tennis.
Correct. I mean, so I'm not as I can't say that I've watched a Springbok game or a Proteas cricket game in the last couple of years. But obviously, I follow the results and see what happens. But in the old days, it used to upset me when they lose. Now it doesn't. It doesn't feel the same.
Correct.
I don't have that. When the Lions, to be honest, when the Lions used to lose, that used to be that was my team. I used to love the Lions.
Death and destruction on the way home, then.
Exactly. And I see your son, and I saw when your son actually signed for the Lions when he came back from overseas, and I'm going, wow. And then it seems like the Lions have lost the plot a little bit when it comes to, structures, and I'm not quite sure what's going on out there.
I can't comment, Joffers. I know Jack about it.
Yeah, no.
And he doesn't talk about it. They're obviously trying to build and.
Well, that's what the players. That's what you want as a player.
Yeah.
You want to walk onto that field and not worry about administration. Where's the next dollar coming from? You want to be well looked after as a professional athlete, and it's just really not happening, and hence why I believe South African sport. It's just slowly degrading. Slowly but surely. And you see it in a lot of federations. And it's only because we have so much good talent and great players that they're still able to win despite the administration.
Yeah.
I think we've got a story coming away, because I think one of the best wikis ever to grace our screens has just sent a little hello as well. See, Brian Sarah says,
Brian.
So who's your best soccer coach at Rhodes?
Can you believe Brian Sarah? Zorro was our soccer coach at Rhodes. Well, I tell you,
what a good man.
I love Zorro. What a great guy.
Yeah.
We used to joke around because he played goalkeeper for us now and again. And we say, Zorro, the only time that we're going to win a game is if you put a net between your legs. He got beaten between the legs. I don't know how many times as goalkeeper.
I see Ray Jennings there saying, how's it? And good to see your face.
Yeah. And,
what a great man. What a great keeper.
I mean, just there's another legend. And Ray, when I think about Ray, what he did for South African cricket, and when he coached that under-19 team, and the politics and BS short for, you know what BS is
Correct.
short for.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can say it, Joffers. You
Sorry,
can say
yeah,
it.
the
You live in
bullshit.
America.
The
'Cause
bullshit.
The bullshit.
these are the kind of guys that should still be involved in the system, because these
Absolutely,
are guys that played at the
absolutely
top
right.
level. Ray got the best out of these kids. He was a disciplinarian. He was a hard coach.
Yeah.
But boy, did he get the best out of those under-19s. They win a
Sure.
World Cup
Yeah.
and then he gets fired as coach. I mean, the system is all backward.
It's
It's
a
just
disgrace.
as soon as you speak up against the system, a lot of these big administrators that are there with no knowledge of the game, they want puppets. They
political.
want people that will just say, yes, sir, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Joffers, just as a matter of interest, what time's your lunch appointment there in South Carolina? No, I'm just checking.
I can go in for as long as you want. I'll go get wings
No,
at
no,
any
no,
time.
we'll be. Yeah. And how's your time?
No, we're all good. We're all
Okay.
good, yeah.
It's a normal thing. The waitress hasn't rocked up, and I need to have a piss. So,
No, I'm going to
would you mind talking to Gino, because I'd like to come back to you and talk about the radio show.
Sure.
The
But
radio show.
Yeah,
No, before we
which
get
is
to
what
that,
you
yeah.
touched on. Okay, so excuse me for 2 minutes.
He's got to get rid of his beer.
Yeah,
So
it's Saturday evening now, Joffers.
Gino, put the time on.
I'll be back now.
I think
I'm
this
gonna
could be
set
longer
it
than
right
2
now.
minutes.
Okay. On your marks, get set, go. Go, Flies.
You guys, too much
No, I
fun.
tell you, I mean, Ray Jennings. I just, you know, to just, I know he's online now, but just to say, so unbelievable. It's iconic in my mind to think of him diving. You know, both sides. He was always in the air.
Gino, you know, that's as a guy growing up in Joburg, the cricket days when the Mean Machine were playing, those were cricket days. I never used to miss a game. You go to the packed out Wanderers and you're watching that Mean Machine with Jimmy Cook, Fotheringham, Jennings, Kallicharran, Pollock, McKenzie, Page. I mean, it's so long ago, but yet I remember the name so clearly because those were real role models. And the guys just played cricket. They didn't play for a lot of money. They played because they loved the game. They loved the game.
The amateur time. I mean, it's changed the game. You know, I seem to remember that the West Indies coming into this whole Benson and Hedges thing and getting that thing going, and then it was really became. I suppose it becomes about the money then as well. I was just looking at and thinking about the golf. If you follow the golf, this whole fight between the Saudis and the PGA, that whole thing as well. It's all about the money.
I mean, that LRV golf tour, and I see two new players have just joined the LRV tour as well. I think Mito Pereira and Sebastian Munoz. But I've got a lot of good friends who are South African caddies, and a couple of them are now on the LRV tour, and they tell me you have no idea how it is laid on. The red carpet, you know, they get, you know, caddying on the PGA Tour is not as lucrative as it sounds unless your player's making big money. You miss a cut. A lot of these caddies, it's not that easy. You know, they're driving together, they're staying in hotel rooms together. Unless you got a player who's winning every week. But they tell me now this LRV tour, I mean, they pay for their flights, they pay for their hotel accommodation, they arrive in their hotel room, there's gifts on the bed. The caddies are now being treated like royalty, and they just think, you know, it's just kind of that they've gone to heaven now. They've gone to golf heaven. But I mean, whether it's healthy or not, we'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Well, Fires back here, but we need to get on to your radio time as well. But are there any other cricket stories that you remember? Any other stuff you remember?
I mean, I think those are my ones I used to dine out on all the time. Beating bowling Warmer out for like 70. Dave Emsley still. I've even got the clipping. I think Dave Emsley still denies it.
Dave, he was on the show as well. What a legend!
I mean, they had a great team. I think Eddie Burrell was on that team. I think Dave Emsley, but no, and then obviously
Carl
the Rushmere,
Barmester.
The Rushmere story is another one that I dine out on all the time.
Well, you know and we had Rushy on. Was it last week?
Last week
We had Rushy on, and he was known as a spin player. You know, so you know, obviously you were a level above those spinners as well. You know.
you tell them, Gino. You tell them.
I must tell you, I must actually tell you, it's great to see Ray Jennings on here, and what a fantastic guy and what a great cricketer. I remember one day at the Wanderers. You remember Cassie?
James Coss.
James No Ball Coss.
No more.
Plus, he bowled
The-
the
the
biggest
fo-
no balls ever, and we used to. God bless his heart, but Lenny Mack used to be the umpire. James Carson, he used to be halfway down the track and let the ball go. We were scared of the daylight at Rhodes. You ever seen a guy bowl off 10 yards?
Aren't these great memories for you, Joffers?
The best.
Eh?
The best.
But I remember one day at the Wanderers, I was standing on the non-strikers end, and Kasi came in, and Rassi was bowling, and Jet was a long way back with his back to the golf course end. So Rassi was bowling from the corner drive end, and Jet often used to sit sort of, obviously a very supple bloke, used to sort of sit with one leg on the ground and one leg up, and he shouted, "Rassi, Kasi says you cuck." And I was standing on the non-strikers and listening to this, and Kasi said, "I never said that, I never said that."
No, but I've heard
Jet,
about.
I'm sure you remember that.
I've heard about James who said Kasi was super fast, but he didn't know where that ball was going to go.
He was blitzed.
When he was on, he was on. When he was on, he was on.
But I'll just, while I was thinking, you asked me favorite stories cricket-wise, just the Eastern Cape humour. A guy called Dr. Rudy Marks, who's a legend in Grahamstown, and we're playing a farming district game against some invitation team. And Rudy Marks was on our team, but he didn't show up for the start of the game. So we're in the field already. He arrives about 15 minutes after the start of the game. And he shouts from the pavilion, he says, "Boys, you'll have to keep going without me because I have to go and operate." And about 3 guys at the same time all shouted out, said, "Rudy, save the bugger, don't operate."
Great sense of humour, Joffers. Now, in my absence here, you didn't get onto the Rude Awakening.
Yes,
did you?
KC saying hello as well. How's it, KC?
Hello,
Nice to see you,
KC.
mate. We need
Clarky.
some more punters here, KC. We were running out here.
That's
Joffers,
all I see about Kane and punters all the time on this group text that I'm on with KC and Rippon and Mayer and these guys. Too funny.
the Bedford. Now, we're gonna get the Rude Awakening if you don't mind. But so let's just get the story in a row. Yeah. So you left Rhodes.
Yeah.
You then went to CNN in America.
Right, got the job at CNN, international
He
sports
was-
anchor for 7 years. Set me up for life. It was just,
Brilliant.
getting to learn the American sports was a good challenge.
Yeah,
because
sure.
baseball, football, ice hockey, basketball, we don't really follow those with a passion. But it taught me the A to Z of television. And it was just, but I always knew as a South African journalist, I wanted to work in my home country. And that's when I came back in 2000 and again, just pretty much did everything that I wanted to do, worked on Supersport, and then working as a sports presenter on 94.7, The Rude Awakening. Jeremy Mansfield, boy, did he...
Unbelievable.
He gave us a chance to do whatever we wanted to do. He brought us into his show, and he wasn't like... I don't know, he made so many people in radio because he
absolutely.
was so good, and it wasn't all about him. He allowed us to all grow underneath him, and we had an incredible show that was just,
Joffers.
we had a lot of fun.
A great show.
He's sorely missed.
Used to fly up to Joburg on business. I couldn't wait to get that hard car. Obviously, you fly out here at 6 o'clock or 10 past 6. I couldn't wait to get that hard car. And, get in the car, get onto 94.7. You got yourself, Darren Simpson, the late Jeremy. And
Wicked.
I always got the impression that they'd take the piss out of you, and you took it so nicely, and it was such a lovely show.
Well, that's
I wouldn't
the
get
thing
out
we
of the
knew.
car.
Well, the thing about it, we knew it was a show. So we would walk in the morning. At 5:30 in the morning, you walk through that door, someone would have a go at you. And we go, Jeremy, you smell, Jesus, Jeremy, you smell like a brewery at 5:30 in the morning. and we none of us dressed very well, shorts and slops. It was so casual and so fun and so easy. Those are 7 special years. I mean, as I say, he was a legend, a radio legend, just gone way too soon.
Yeah. And Joffers, do you still have a lot of contact with those guys?
Not really. Fires, when obviously I got my friends that I went to Rhodes with. We still chat now and again.
Yes.
And, and guys that are, ripping the guys, but I just, everyone's so busy with their own lives. It's, with a big time difference as well, the 7-hour time difference, you catch up. But what's amazing is, it doesn't matter when you got Africa in your blood and you've got the friendships that, like, I see you now, it feels like I saw you yesterday.
Sure,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's what makes South Africa so unique. Not only just the incredible climate, the incredible country, the people. People. It's just you get together again after 10 years, and it feels like you haven't been apart at all, because the stories just get bigger and better.
Yeah. And what's the temperature like in South Carolina at the moment?
Right, beautiful. I mean, we're in the middle of winter. It's probably about 20, 21 degrees Celsius.
Oh, really?
We've got a good climate here. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Are you getting used to the Celsius and Fahrenheit and pounds and kilograms? Miles and k's.
Do you say that? So every time, whenever you go, say I go for like a medical or something, they say put your weight in pounds. I got to Google how much kilograms is in pounds, and I still do it with my golf. I still convert to meters, and the guys are going, "What are you doing?" I go, "I don't know how far I hit this club."
Check that.
What do they measure it in feet?
No,
That's yards.
In yards.
Yeah.
Do you play a bit of golf, Joffers?
Fires, not much. I used to play so much in South Africa, but I've lost kind of interest. But just also time-wise, if golf was 12 holes, I think it would be perfect. You'd find 5-6 hours in a day anymore, and I still got to find my wife. Damn it, I don't have time.
Well, Brian says you're an amazing squash player. I haven't heard the same accolades coming from Stapes.
Gee, Stapes, you're right. Very rude. Zorro's my agent. He's on a retainer, Zorro. Squash was probably squash was one of my big things. The friends you made in squash were, also very special. I remember Stapes. I played probably number 3 or 4 for Rhodes, and Stapes was either 1 or 2 for. I got a good story for Crusaders, I think it was.
Excellent.
There you go.
Bring it on.
I got one good squash story. Neil Emsley.
The bushbuck.
Bushbuck. I had Bushbuck. This is Rhodes against. Was he Crusaders or?
He was.
Crusaders, okay. It would be.
I was playing Bushbuck. I had him on the ropes. 2-0, 2 love up, and probably 8-1. So I'm 1 point away from killing Bushbuck. And then he starts blowing. He says, "I've got a cold." He starts blowing in his handkerchief, and he's taking time out, and he's messing. Why? Can you believe how unethical that was? Damn it! He came back to beat me 3-2 Bushbuck. Unethical sportsmanship.
Go, Neil.
My worst loss ever.
Yeah, Bushbuck not gonna lose,
So Joffers, if I may, we now move forward a bit. We've bantered around you for a while. So you're in Johannesburg and you decide you've had enough of that shit. You're going to come to Grahamstown, where you obviously spent 3 or 4 great years of your life.
Yeah. And so got back to Grahamstown. And again, just you feel it's comfortable because you know the town, you know the people, you're drinking at the Albany Club every night. You know
with a car in a pothole.
You go to the Vic.
With
you
your
go
car
to the
lost in a
club.
pothole.
Exactly. So Grahamstown was easy, Fires, and it was interesting because I continued my digital publication from Grahamstown.
Yes.
And even then, we talk about 2014, 15. Let me tell you, the load shedding then used to kill me because I'd wake up in the morning to do my digital publication. There'd be no power. And I'm going, this is just, it became very stressful in those, and that was probably load shedding 1. Now you got load shedding 47, and it's I sympathize. It's hard. It's really hard. But that's where things really turned around because April the 1st, 2015, I get an email from a guy in South African Equestrian saying, "Graeme, we'd like to come and see you. We've got big information in South African Equestrian." So I said, "Guys, I'm living in Grahamstown. Just send me the information because I've already got a whole lot of stuff on email already." They said, "No, we're coming to see you." These guys flying on Learjet into Grahamstown Airfield. And Fires, I don't know if you know the Grahamstown Airfield. There's no one there. There's nothing.
The army camp's next door.
Correct, right by the army camp there. But I'm standing in this middle of the airfield. They say they're going to land at 4 o'clock. It's now 4:15, and I'm standing in this middle of the airfield. I thought I was in a movie. And I look at my watch and I go, oh, April 1st, you idiot, Graeme. Someone's played a prank on you.
I was wondering about the day.
2 minutes later, this Learjet comes sailing in, and these guys get out, and it was just, and they just shared that was really a ticking time bomb. South African equestrian just exploded when I started that expose. Things really started to get ugly, and
But that wasn't the beginning of it.
No,
The equestrian side.
No,
yeah,
correct.
that was.
I mean, the South African lottery. I was one of the first guys to expose all the corruption in the South African lottery, and it got these guys. It was unbelievable. When one of my first exposés, South African lottery, 10 million goes to the South African Football Museum, and now I'm trying to find where this museum is, and it doesn't exist. So 10 million's gone into people's back pockets. That's what the national lottery is so corrupt. I mean, all you have to look back at how many months ago were the winning numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Powerball 6. I mean, how does that happen?
Well, on my way home tonight, I'm actually going to put your name on my ticket because Jesus, something's got to change here. Yeah. But okay, so Joffers, on a serious note, so you were in Grahamstown, and I'm getting to that midnight phone call, which is the bit that actually scared me and intrigued me, and I've always wanted to ask you this. And we had a brief chat about it a few years ago.
As far as you know, it was a Friday night. It must have been April 11th or April 12th of 2015. And the guy that had hired one of the equestrian guys who had hired the private investigator, basically called me at 10:15 that night and said, Graeme, they're coming to get you this weekend. So I said, who? He says, look, I don't know who it is, but the private investigator had intercepted a threat to your safety. I'm not brave enough to stick around to see who's coming to get me. So obviously I packed an overnight bag. The girl that I was dating at the time, we went to her house, took my battery out, my cell phone, parked my car at a remote location so they couldn't track me. And it was just, it was a terrible night because I obviously couldn't sleep. Every light, every noise, whatever. And then in the morning, I get up and I call the guy that had called me. I said, right, what do I do now? He says, why don't you come stay with me for 4 days in Joburg or a couple of days and let's identify the threat. So I went back to my apartment, got my passport, packed a suitcase, flew to Joburg. I got some guys to help me, which is great. LG Bauer and Dean Kent helped me get to the airport. And it was just an uncertainty. I went underground for 4 days. Yeah. And to be honest with you, when I look back at it all now, I believe that I was double-crossed by the private investigator, that he was paid by someone else to get me out the country.
By the perpetrators.
Correct. And the perpetrators that I believe, I'm not going to mention any names, but I do believe because the guy from South African Equestrian that was involved turned out to be not exactly the kind of character, the savory character that I thought he was.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I remember you and I having this conversation, and I'm not quite sure whether it was on the phone or at the Tuna Classic, but you had pinpointed a couple of guys for a serious amount of money, and I'm not going to mention names either, because we live here and you nicely tucked away there in the States. But as it turned out, 3 or 4 years later, you were 100% right.
Fires,
because they were caught. Lock, stock, and barrel.
No, correct. And I published my book about 2.5 years ago. Obviously, couldn't ban from distribution in South Africa. But the beauty about it,
banned. It
is. But the beauty about it, I've given I tell people, whoever wants my book, send me your email address, and I'll give you a free PDF for the book. I just want the truth to get out there. It's not about making money, but it was the cheapest psychotherapy ever. Just getting it all out into a book form. And these guys there's just some rotten sports administrators. There's so much money in South African sport, but these guys are just looting. They're just looting nonstop.
Yeah. No, at Joffers, it's actually very sad. I mean, look at how we live. The lights go off.
It's so sad, Fires.
Yeah, there are many people who can't afford inverters or generators.
No,
so the majority of the population's in the darkness twice a day for 2 hours at a time.
It's not normal.
There's no accountability.
Correct.
And that's exactly what I'm reading in your book, which I'm reading at the moment via the internet.
All right. And so
do you actually have a printed copy?
Well, the PDF will be amazing, and the guys want to have a look at it as well.
Jeez, there it is.
There it is.
Sport, There's it.
Without fear or
Betrayal.
favor.
That's it.
Yeah. No,
No,
but
Joffers, I must tell you, sorry.
No,
I beg
that's
no, carry on. I beg your pardon.
No, while we're on
No, I was
the
just going to
topic.
say, I've known this guy for a long time, and what a wonderful man, and it's been great to talk to you, Joffers.
Fantastic. I
And
see
I'm proud of you as well.
there's some
appreciate it,
defense.
guys.
No,
There's some defense coming out for Neil Emsley here. I see Garth Webster saying that Bushbuck says if he wasn't sick, it would have been 3 duck. And there's also Stapes there. Look, Stapes coming out saying Bushbuck would never cheat. He just got tired.
It's too funny. He went from being, Bushbuck went from being healthy at the start of the game. Suddenly he got the sniffles, and suddenly he's spending 2 minutes in the corner blowing his nose. I'm about to put finishing touches to him.
The Bushbuck was limping, man. He wasn't going to get there. It's like just a little bit of time. He needs just to recoup.
Eastern Cape, so close to my heart. When being in Joburg and coming to Rhodes, and I was so fortunate to end up at Rhodes and then to get involved in Eastern Cape. The humor.
Yeah.
Anton Emsley, by the way, still owes me a cattle bursary from my playing for Seven Fountains. So if you can just tell, if you see Anton Emsley, tell me he owes me
he's
a
down the
cattle
road
bursary.
here. He's down the road here. I think he's at Oyster Bay.
Someone can tag him in the comments here. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
no, he's on there.
Exactly. I played a couple games for Seven Fountains. Had so much fun with those guys, and
Lovely.
And overall, I don't think there's anywhere in the world that can come close to the people of the Eastern Cape. The sense of humor is second to
It
none.
is.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think it's for a reason, because we've had such a tough time down here.
Do you know, Joffers, I'm not sure how close you are to all this. We've got a serious water issue in Port Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Well, in this area.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with the water in Durban, in the Free
Yes,
State,
the rest
in
of the
Western
country,
Cape, in
the rest of the
Joburg.
world is flooded.
And our dams, I think the average is 7%.
Yes.
And some mornings you wake up, you switch a tap on and nothing comes out.
Crazy.
Oh, no.
That's
on
horrific,
the Twitter this morning, I probably saw one of the funny. I don't know if you saw it, but there's a guy taking a bath in a pothole inside on a South African road. He's lying in a pothole with no clothes on.
Exactly it.
That'll be the Grahamstown Road. That's fine.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know. Do you have mates in Grahamstown?
Plenty.
Do they keep you in tune with what's going on there?
I hear what's going on, and obviously. Grahamstown was such a special place, but I heard it's got just the problems there are just endless, and the town is supposedly not pleasant, really not pleasant.
Joffers, it's a mess.
Yeah.
You'd lose your car there, and you'd lose a fairly big car in the potholes there.
Yeah, we can only hope that the groundswell, like you said, the groundswell is going to be. And I was just saying beforehand, if only PE with all its wind flipping windmills and stuff around here, we could get off the grid, off the ESCOM grid. I tell you, all the investment would come here.
Sure.
Everything would come here. We need to get this electricity thing sorted out. So when Oaks decided, okay, where am I going to put my factory? Then he checks, okay, well, PE's got electricity 24/7. Let's come. That's what we need.
Absolutely.
Imagine if we could do that. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, great
Henry
point,
Matthew is
Gino.
saying, greatly appreciate your bravery, Joffers. Love your book. And thanks, Fires and Gino, for a great show. Thank you, Henry. Henry, lovely to see
No,
you.
man, Henry.
Again,
And I
Gino
see-
Fires, the book is out there. Anyone who
Yeah.
wants it, please send me their email address. It's all about just getting the truth out there. But these guys, these corrupt officials have no shame. Yeah, they've got such thick skin.
Yeah.
And as long as they've
Yeah.
got all the money to travel, and they go business class, first class, they go on these
Yeah.
extended vacations, they don't care about the future. It's about them now.
Yeah.
And
But I tell you what, Joffers, the margins are getting, they're pushing that thing. They're pushing it so much that I think we're going to have an interesting election next election.
Yeah.
It's going to be tighter than
I just
the
hope
guys
that
think.
whoever comes in, whatever, if there is a changing of the guard, can they fix the damage? When the infrastructure, with the power, doesn't matter probably who's running it now. These guys have run it into the ground, but just the basic infrastructure, it's got to be. You just want the country to work. It's hard enough
sure.
as it is, and just
the
power
trains.
and
We need
water.
the trains on the road. We need the trains on the rails. We
Maybe
need the,
Fikile and Balula can change things.
or maybe the Minister of Silly Hats. What's his name? Becky Pele.
19 Petrol, Becky Tele. Jeez.
Yes.
Joffers, would you ever consider coming back here?
Fires, I can't come back. You know what's interesting is Mark Alexander, president of SA Rugby, filed a criminal defamation suit against me when I was in the States. I think they thought I was coming back, and they were worried that I was going to testify and come back and cause more trouble. So he files a criminal defamation suit, whether criminal defamation even exists in South Africa. But supposedly, as soon as I land back in South Africa, I get arrested for criminal defamation. So for me to come back, it's just, I wouldn't know who to trust. And is it worth it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I mean, if I walked straight into your studio now, I've been laughing for the last hour. I would love, it's so good for the soul, but I wouldn't know who to trust, and it's just not worth it because.
Well, you can trust us.
Yeah, we're okay.
Some guy comes, you get Joffers in studio for 5 million, and put a bullet in it. You'll take the 5 million.
Maybe let's put word out.
Correct.
Come over, Jobs. We'll pay for your trip, man.
And just as a matter of interest, whilst on that subject, did you have to apply for protection in America, or?
Fires, I always believed I'm not going to look you over my shoulder the whole time. The world's small. I've got some. When I say protection, I've got some good connections, and also, I had a good meeting with the FBI in Cincinnati when I got to Cincinnati. So they've got my track record. They know what I'm about, stuff, and again, it's It's all about living. It's just about living. Obviously, life.
And you have a right to live.
No, correct. When you see about the recent assassinations in South Africa and stuff like that, you go, life is worth very little to a lot of people, and it's just so sad. It's just so sad. It's correct. Cheap. Life is cheap, and I'm happy. I've got my life back. I'm living. I'm happy.
Good.
Yeah. And who knows? This could be the year I get married.
Hey, we wait for that.
Joffers, we can help you.
Brian's got a comment here quickly just to pull you into that. During my soccer coaching at Rhodes, I had good players. Craig
Neve, I remember Craig.
Paul Clark, Greg Hatley, Greg Farrell, who played for EP and SA University as well.
Joffers was better.
Brian is just trumping up his coaching abilities here.
Zorro, he's name dropping. There's no one else that could coach that team.
And Martin Rimmer, ex-VP as well. He says, also enjoyed Joffers on radio up here in Joburg. Admire his bravery talking with the two loonies. That would be us then.
Listen, that's rich coming from you, Rimmer.
Yeah, exactly. But Graeme, it's been fantastic, man. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Been blooming awesome, and good to reconnect. I hope it's been a bit of a soul, a bit of soul for you as well.
Gino,
Russian girl, he says.
I tell you, it's been for me. It's been very heartwarming. I've laughed non-stop with you guys for the last hour. You guys are great product. What you've got going there. I just if you
by the way, are you sorry, carry on. I beg your pardon.
I just wanted you to make sure if when you do the next promo for the next year, if you can just take Sid Meier out of the promo.
Sid, he's a legend.
Are you still doing your podcasts?
No, Fires. You know what? I didn't have time anymore. I'm working quite a lot at the country club, and there was quite a lot. There was a lot of work involved in that podcast. I would like to get back to it, but it just kind of took me down a dark road again because I was obviously exposing a lot of the corruption again, and I love talking. I mean, as you can see.
Oh, no, we know that, Joffers. We know that. We know that.
So down the road, maybe I'll get involved with the podcast again, but just time-wise right now, there's just no time for it.
And Joffers, the country club there, no chick there for you?
Jeez.
Well,
Fires
like
There's normally a
Stats-
lot of them there. With
little
lots
bit
of money
old,
too.
little bit old. But if I'm looking for an 80-year-old sugar mama, I think that could
There
be
we go.
A Russian girl at the country club via state.
Typical States, politically correct all the way.
Maybe Ukrainian.
The States.
Joffers, I love you very much, my boy. It's always been great. It's always great to talk to you.
You too.
Fantastic.
And thank you so much for your time.
Boys, what a pleasure. Great to chat to you guys. Keep going strong, and let's hope there's change down the road sometime soon.
For sure. Like
You
a
know,
sworry.
And one thing I'm missing. What am I missing? Ah, damn it. A Bambi
pitch.
burger.
A Bimbo's burger.
I don't know. It used to be called the Wiblins used to own Bambis in Grahamstown.
Quite correct.
Oh, that
Was
was the best. The best.
Was that shop as you drove down away from Rhodes on the left, like a pink shop?
It was opposite the Vic. Opposite the Vic.
That's
Hotel.
right. Quite correct. Jesus.
Bambi burger.
And
I
then
remember
another,
that.
And then one last thing, I think but I hear it's closed down. My favorite place in Port Alfred. On what's that 24-hour place? in
Beavers.
Port Alfred? Beavers.
Beavers.
That's still there.
It's gone. It's gone. Unfortunately, it is still there. The guys, they've got a still got a shop there, but they don't do the pie. The pipes have kind of moved to Nanacha.
Oh, jeez. That Malcolm McKenzie at Menachem.
There you go.
Yes,
There you go.
Good boy, Malcolm.
Good memory,
Malcolm.
Joffers.
Yeah. All right.
Now,
boys.
what are you doing this afternoon?
Well, in the next 20 minutes, it'll be chicken wings and vodka. Then, believe it or not, I'm playing pickleball this afternoon.
Pickleball. There we go.
And then I got to go to a Mardi Gras party after that. So that could get crazy.
If you get a gap there, just go and scratch around Murdoch's mother's property there. See if he didn't perhaps bury those rifles in the backyard.
If he's buried some money, I'll go find it.
Always great to talk to you, Joffrey.
Yeah,
Thanks,
boys.
Graham.
Have a great weekend.
We've
Love
actually
you
got
lots, my bud.
we've got our competition on.
There it
we've got
is,
our
the
comp
castle.
This side. We're going to do a little competition as well. Thank you, Graham. You've been
Cheers,
an absolute
boys.
legend.
Have a good
Cheers,
one.
my man.
Bye,
Fantastic
guys.
fun. And we've got our giveaway. We're going to do quickly. We're going to pull the lever on it and see who wins the prize. We've got a case of Fitch and Leeds to give away as well. Thank you to Spa. Thank you to and thank you to our sponsors Fitch and Leeds as well for giving us a bit of a thing to give away at the end of the show. So anyone that's online at the moment, we've got to do it. And then Wendy will find your number. And we'll do it.
Listen, it's always a pleasure being with you. as well.
Thank you, Fires, for coming online as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Doing it.
Always good to be here.
And gee, Graham, what an incredible story. Just
lovely Great
amazing.
guy.
Of course, we will be broadcasting this show as well next on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday as well. We'll put it out there too. And so let's have a look. The guys that are online now at the moment, the guys that are putting comments, we're pulling the lever.
Give it
and
a
see who's
Jenny.
going to win.
And more importantly,
Yeah.
good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to be riding the Herald tomorrow. Yes. The Martin Rimmer.
Rimmer, yeah.
Rimmer, you've won it. And I'm going to be riding the Herald tomorrow morning. I'm getting up at 5 o'clock. And I've prepared my acceptance speech for the trophy.
We saw that
Everything
on
is
Facebook
ready.
today. Now tell me, how many kilometers is it?
106 Ks. I'm
up to it?
I'm up to it, bro.
Are you up to it?
I'm up to it. I've got my bike
Good
ready.
luck.
And
Good
with
luck.
these gin and tonics, I don't think it's going to do me any good. But we'll see tomorrow. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Alex.
Lekker. Thank you.
Good luck to you
Sit
tomorrow.
down, coming out of PE town. Don't drink, find a shot. Never mind your liver, get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Get to Gino's spot.
Gino Spot!
Have a laugh, have a giggle, and exercise your middle. Have a Gino shot.
Gino Shot!
Get to Gino's spot.